Ayy, roll up my back, wouldn't let me get high. Keep this money by my side, I had to sacrifice.
The Toronto Raptors have came a long way over the last decade. There was a point where Toronto was always found at the bottom of the league, always missing on draft picks, and was just a poor franchise overall. However, ever since the Raptors' savior, Masai Ujiri, took over the team back in 2013, the franchise has found itself in the playoffs year in and year out. Year after year, we have grown accustomed to seeing them compete for an NBA title in the East. Since Toronto made the front office switch, they've made the playoffs every year, winning at least one series for the past 5 years, and of course, their NBA title run in 2019 where they would go on to beat the Golden State Warriors in the NBA Finals. They overcame the notorious baby dinosaur era where it seemed year after year, LeBron would run through LeBronto effortlessly, and the new look Raptors seemed as if they were legit competitors for years to come. Needless to say, they had established themselves as one of the most successful teams in recent NBA history, and coming into the year, nothing suggested that this would change. Many people predicted that Siakam, despite a poor bubble performance last postseason, would make another jump and lead the Raptors throughout the upcoming season. So far in 2021, the season has been nothing short of a disaster. Now you're probably asking yourself, what exactly is wrong with the Toronto Raptors? Alright, before we hop into it, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to my channel. It helps a lot and will help me grow moving forward, so that way I can continue to make videos for you guys. Also, be sure to check out my Twitter in the description. And with that being said, let's hop into it. As I said before, and as many of you know, the Raptors were the NBA champions just 2 short seasons ago back in 2019. Although Kawhi did decide to leave and join the Los Angeles Clippers, their future did seem pretty bright. With head coach Nick Nurse emerging as one of the better coaches in the NBA, things were very much still under control. Last year proved this, where they followed their championship season up with a 53-19 record that was good enough to be the 2nd seed in the Eastern Conference. This same team would go on a battle against the star-studded Boston Celtics, and were even good enough to take them to a heart-wrenching 7-game series. With most of the Raptors core guys returning, the expectations were high in Toronto. Pretty much everyone, including myself, thought they would at least make the playoffs, but it isn't looking out to be that way. If I were to tell you before the season started that the Toronto Raptors would be the worst team in the NBA record-wise, you would probably call me an idiot and think I didn't know a thing about basketball. Yet, here we are, and that is exactly what has happened. With a 2-8 record, they sit at the bottom of the NBA along with the Detroit Pistons. This has left everyone scratching their heads and asking what is wrong with the Toronto Raptors. How could a team that had a championship roster just 2 years ago be so bad? There's not just one simple answer, besides the obvious that they are playing like a team in LeVar Ball's Junior Basketball Association. One of the major issues for the Raptors is something we probably underestimated this season, is the loss of both Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka. The Raptors are desperately missing their old front court. Those two held it down in the middle perfectly, and that 1-2 punch was the core of what made a lot of things work in Toronto, especially on the defensive side. Even though Marc Gasol is getting up there in age, he was still consistent night in and night out on defense, and Serge has always been pretty consistent ever since he was with Oklahoma. In order to replace them, they went out and signed Aaron Baines and Alex Len, who aren't exactly bad players, but neither of them are close to Marc and Serge. Their impact on the floor is nowhere near the previous front court of the Raptors, and the drop-off has been noticeable, to say the least. The Toronto Raptors defense is non-existent and has fallen off a cliff. The Raptors currently rank 21st in the NBA, allowing 111 points per 100 possessions. That is the bottom third of the league. That is a huge drop-off from the past 2 years where they have held a top 5 defense prior to the season. Now, I know what you're thinking. They lost their 2 top big men. They were defensive monsters, you know, it's expected, but no. They've always been solid on defense. Their core players, all of them have been pretty solid. Kyle Lowry, Pascal Siakam, and OG, they've all received defensive votes throughout the years and have become known as good defenders in today's NBA. At times, the effort just hasn't been there, and at other times, there's been chemistry issues getting in the way with the Raptors and their new players. While they have the personnel to turn things around, it's easier said than done. The team's depth is far more depleted than in recent years. Chris Boucher seems to be the only player on the Raptors bench worth anything at this point in time. His His production of 14 points and 2.5 blocks a game, all while coming off the bench. Chris is simply not the problem. Norman Powell was one of the best bench players in the league last year, even sneaking his way into the 6th Man of the Year conversation. Powell has been nowhere near his former self and has struggled to replicate those numbers he once put up. He's been very inconsistent this year, shooting a poor 37% from the field. Terrence Davis looked promising as a rookie last year, but has not taken the leap, and it is showing. Now, with all this being said, we still need to hold the number one option accountable. Siakam took an incredible leap last year when he was thrusted in as the Raptors' lead role on offense. Although it came with growing pains, the hope around Toronto was that Siakam would continue to improve over the offseason into one of the NBA's young stars around the league. Instead, his production has taken a huge hit. Even though his production recently is starting to come together, there are noticeable weaknesses he needs to overcome. Pascal is at his best when he can get out in transition and attack the basket. In half-court settings, he's best utilized in the post with his signature spin move. This becomes a problem when down the stretch, defenses know he's going to try to spin and try and get a good look at the rim. In back-to-back games, Siakam has been clamped up on the game-winning possession because the man has nowhere to spin to. He lacks diversity in the moves he has in his arsenal. Now, if you're asking me who I want to take the game-winning shot, am I going to pick Siakam? Fate of the universe on the line, I want Iguodala.
Open shot, fate of the universe on the line, or the Martians have the death beam pointed at Earth, you better hit it. I want Iguodala.
Although many people have been putting Siakam down, I will give him credit that he has been picking up his play. Posting a triple-double against the Blazers, dropping a 30-bomber a few nights ago, Siakam is slowly gaining his confidence back, and that is what the Raptors need. It also needs to be said that although they might have the worst record in the NBA, all their games have been rather close and have come down to the wire. 8 of their games have come within single digits, and 5 of them have been decided between 5 points. Their last 2 previous losses have been decided by a single point. This team can clearly hang with anyone in the league, they just have to figure out how to close a game. This is the first time Nick Nurse has faced any real adversity in his coaching career, so it will be interesting to see how he bounces back. The season is still very young, so I wouldn't write off the Raptors just yet, despite all their problems they are having. Their struggling players are not going to continue to play this bad, and they'll get it together soon. What do you guys think? Are the Raptors going to make the playoffs despite this poor start? Let me know down below, and as always, I'll see you next time.